Okay, so welcome back. Today's lesson is the first part of the elimination. About 2 weeks ago, we went over how we can do substitution and graphing, and now moving on to what's my personal favorite, the elimination method. So basically what we need to do here is we need to look at two equations, a system here that we have, and we need to figure out, looking at just the x's or just the y's, what can be eliminated from the equation when I add the two equations up. As we can see here, if I was to add up the x's here, I would get 3x. If I was to add the y's up, I would get 2y. So nothing can be eliminated. So luckily, we have something called the commutative property of equality and the distributive property together. Those nice properties that you learned in 7th grade, we can apply that here. So what we need to do is either have the same exact number in front of the variable, but we also have to have different signs. So here, luckily, we have the same number, the same coefficient of 1, but we have the same sign, so we're going to actually work to change that. So that way one of these is a negative and one of them is a positive. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the top equation in parentheses, and I'm going to actually multiply or distribute a -1 through, so that way I can actually negate the y term, which is the problem right now. So I have -1 times 1x, and that's going to give me -1x. I have -1 times positive 1y, which is going to give me -1y. And I have -1 times 6, which is going to give me -6. The important thing to note here is that you must make sure that you distribute your -1 all the way through to every single term in your equation. So now I'm going to just bring over or rewrite that second equation right below this. And as we can see here, now if I want to add these two equations up, I can see here that my y's are actually going to cancel. So -1y plus 1y is going to be 0. So that's what I'm looking to happen. Hence the name elimination method. We are able to eliminate the variable y. So let's combine the rest. -1x plus 2x, that gives us a 1x, bring down your equal sign, and -6 plus 8 is a positive 2. So now I have x equals 2. Just like in the last video with substitution, you can't think that you're done. Remember, the goal here is to find what we call the POI, or the point of intersection, which is not just the x, but it's also the y coordinate. So I was able to locate or to find the x. But now I need to take my x and I'm going to sub it back into one of the original equations. And I emphasize the word original because I need to either use the first one or the second one. So here I have x plus y equals 6. I'm using the top original because, again, I like to use an easier looking one. It's nicer, easier to work with. So I have 2. Again, I'm subbing in x equals 2 here. 2 plus y equals 6. And then I simply subtract 2 from both sides of my equation, giving me y equals 4. Okay? And that gives me my y coordinate. So now my POI here, as you can see, is 2, 4. So this is going to be part 1 of elimination. And I'm going to break this up into 2 parts because the second part's going to deal with needing to multiply both equations by a number in order to get something to be eliminated. Okay, just remember, your teachers will emphasize here that you need to make sure that you take your POI and you check it by subbing it back into the original equations. Stay tuned in about a week or two so that way you can see part 2 of elimination.